Good morning, everybody. Come on, let's get up. Sing our opening song. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on Spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on Spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on Spirit. Hallelujah,
Good morning and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Simi Valley, Verge, Virgil Church, lovingly created by our senior minister, Reverend Stephen Rambo, together with the CSL Simi community. Welcome, welcome. My name is Reverend Johanna van Gelder, and besides many things, I am Reverend Stephen's fiancée. So, about a month ago, Reverend Stephen was participating in a minister Zoom meeting, and the discussion was on self-care and how important it is, since ministers have a tendency to give and give and give and not fill their own cup, to practice self-care. So after that meeting, Reverend Stephen asked me, he said, would you be willing to do a service so I can take a week off? And we set it for this date, March 31st. And then the events of this week happened. You know, we had the incident of Amy Cooper, a white woman, threatening Christian Cooper, a black man who's a bird watcher. And it was caught on video by Christian Cooper. We had the event of George Floyd being killed in Minneapolis at the hands of a white male police officer. And we're shaken up. The country is shaken up. The demonstrations, their demands, their riots. People are confused. People are scared. People are dismayed. And people are very angry. Rightfully so. And so Reverend Stephen and I, of course, discussed these events and discussed what we could do about it, but also discussed the fact that I was scheduled to talk today. And it's important to address things like these happening, these events in service within our community. And Reverend Stephen said, you know, he thought it was divine intervention that I was scheduled to speak today. Because sometimes it's easier, since we have a predominantly white community, it is easier to hear the spiritual teachings and how to deal with these events from a white person. And so here I am this morning. And so we're coming together and we will look at these events, or we will look at race and racism through the lens of the spiritual teachings of science of mind. And you might be uncomfortable, and that's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable. When we grow, when we expand, when we learn, when we have to look at our blind spots, we will be uncomfortable, but breathe through it because we can do it. As Glennon Doyle says, we can do hard things. And so today might be hard, but we can do it because we are a community. And that's reflected in our mission and vision, or vision and mission statement. So let's repeat that together and realize that every part of this service is important. It's for the upliftment of each and every one of us. It's for the upliftment of the world. So be aware what you're saying when you repeat the vision and mission statement. Here we go. We are a community, inclusive, loving, and authentic. We celebrate all paths to God in gratitude, empowering self and others. We serve compassionately through outreach, inspiration, and education. That's who we are. That's why we're here. And here's what we do.
Hello everyone, this is Linda Legman at home with my husband Robert Thompson. He's holding the writing for me to read and running the camera. So, welcome to our Sunday celebration worship service. We like to call it Verge, virtual church. The CSL Simi community is excited to have others see how we're connecting each week. Let's extend our reach by clicking the share button on your Facebook page to invite a friend or family member, perhaps in another part of the world or the country. Take a moment to do that right now. Last week, we had 14 shares, which resulted in double the normal amount of views, over 400. We'll pause a moment while you share the Verge. That's how we stay together while apart. Today's service will be uploaded to your YouTube channel, CSL Simi Valley, later today. You can also find the replay by visiting the center's homepage at cslsimi.org. The website also has a link to our archive services. We don't want anyone to feel left out or to not be able to find us. Our Youth and Family Director, the fabulous Susan Hulton, loves staying connected to our families with children. Each week, she creates inspiring and educational lessons for the kids, called Play and Learn with Dr. Susan. 3 lessons are posted each week to our YouTube channel, CSL Simi Valley. You can also watch Dr. Susan live streaming on Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. through the CSL Simi website. And now, let me toss it over to Tracy and the Adams family. They want to invite you to this week's Simi Community Salon. Tracy, it's yours.
Hey Andreas, Maverick, it's time for the Simi Community Salon. Okay, I'll be right there.
Fantastic, I'm going to be right there. Looking forward to it.
A cool event we like to join in on every month is the Simi Community Salon. It's a chance to share your poetry, stories, fine art, music, photography, etc. I love to share my art, and Maverick even shared his photography, and one time he played the flute. It is just so fun to see and hear the many talents of our CSL community.
Don't have anything of your own to share? That's okay. Share something from an artist that inspires you.
Or just come to enjoy the community time.
The Simi Community Salon is the first Wednesday of each month. So the next one is Wednesday, June 3rd, 7 p.m. on Zoom. You can find the Zoom link on the cslsimi.org webpage under the calendar section, and it will be in your weekly email blast. Remember, every salon has a theme. June 3rd, the theme is authenticity. And also remember to keep your sharing time to approximately 2 to 3 minutes long. Share your heart through the arts. See you June 3rd at 7 p.m.
That's Wednesday, June 3rd at 7 p.m. Meeting is 256-864-274. Password is #473831. The link and password will be sent with our weekly e-blast, so you don't have to worry about that. And on Monday, you can find it on our website calendar. Reverend Stephen brings you Practicing Oneness on his Facebook page, Stephen Rambo. You can watch him Monday through Friday for moments of reflection, inspiration, and support. Again, you'll find Practicing Oneness at 1 on his Facebook page. That's at 1 o'clock Monday through Friday. Thank you for those of you who have maintained your regular giving while being away from our physical space. Participating in the law of circulation helps keep us going and also gets the divine abundance flowing in your life. Tithing really does work. Giving is one of the most powerful spiritual tools for creating satisfaction to the soul and harmony in the community. Please donate through our website, cslsimi.org, or here's a new thing. Try out our new Text to Give feature. Text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 805-600-5677. That's GIVE, 805-600-5677. If it's your first time, simply follow the prompts. You only need sign up once, then you can easily and quickly text your tax-deductible donations each week. Following this morning's service, Dr. Susan will be in the church office accepting contributions over the phone. You can reach her at 805-527-0870. We are extremely grateful, really, for your support. CSL Simi's practitioners and ministers are accepting prayer requests for treatment. Your emotional and spiritual well-being is important to us. Reach out for prayer or any questions you have by email, calling the church office, or online at cslsimi.org/prayer request. Your family and friends at CSL Simi would love to see you in a cameo appearance on our virtual Sunday Verge service. Record a short video of yourself greeting the community. Video should be no longer than 30 seconds. Email your clip to Reverend Stephen at revstephen@cslsimi.org. Capture your creativity and your fun with your smartphone or tablet. Look for your video short at the close of the service. Meet us in the Opry Verge Zoom room. Remember, Verge is virtual church. Zoom room for fellowship after service. Connect with friends or sit one-on-one in a Zoom prayer room with a practitioner for a virtual 1-minute miracle. We will post the Opry Verge connection information near the end of today's service. Welcome to all of you viewing from wherever you are. Thanks for spending the morning with us. And now back to Reverend Johanna, who is leading our service today. Reverend Johanna, it's all yours.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Tracy, Andreas, and Maverick for letting us know of how we can stay connected within the Center for Spiritual Living Simi Valley community. It's really great. By the way, if you're watching this and you're interested in doing the announcements, once again, contact Reverend Stephen. We love to see you. We love to hear your voice. Now we will be hearing from our president of our ecclesiastical team, John Newbill. He will lead us in the Science of Mind practices of affirmation, reading or study, and treatment or affirmative prayer. Here's John Newbill.
Good morning. It's time for our affirmation reading and treatment. I'll read the affirmation once and then I'll invite you to read it with me. I know I am here to get my hands dirty. And that is a good thing. Okay, everybody together. I know I am here to get my hands dirty, and that is a good thing. My reading this morning is from the Science of Mind textbook, page 221. Principle is the power that made everything. It is absolute. It will not and cannot be denied. The only thing that cannot deny God is yourself. Do not think of disease as an entity, but as an impersonal thought force. In healing, you are separating the false from the true. The work is definite and dynamic, and is consciously done, always with a clear purpose in mind. If your own thought is clear, and you are able to realize the presence of spirit in your patient, your work will be effective. through the proper use of this great subjective law, you can impress a definite idea upon it. And if you yourself do not withdraw that idea or neutralize it by an opposite one, the law will bring it into manifestation. What we need then is to learn the law governing this principle. When you give a treatment, you are definitely setting a universal law in motion, which must not only accept what you say, but the way in which you say it. If your treatment is given with a sense of struggle, it will manifest in that way. If it is given with a sense of peace, then it will manifest in a peaceful manner. Remember that you need assume no personal responsibility for the recovery of your patient, but you do have a definite obligation, which is to give the treatment properly, clearly, fully, and consciously when you have agreed to. Back of all appearance to the contrary it is your business to mentally see the spiritual perfection of your patient. When you have occasion to treat yourself, call your own name and proceed with the treatment as though you were treating someone else. Or you may say, I am thus and so. Disease will be healed, provided you get at its cause and remove it. And by getting at its cause, we mean getting at the mental cause, and provided the one for whom you are working is willing to surrender that cause. You cannot heal anyone of his trouble if it is the result of some mental attitude which he is not willing to surrender. In this case, find out what the mental attitude is and remove it by showing the patient the right mental attitude. It is the practitioner's duty to uncover false ideas of life and replace them with the truth. If this can be done before disease destroys the physical body, a healing will always follow. And remember, we're all practitioners. So now join me in an opening treatment. So in this moment, I recognize truth. I recognize the one infinite power. I recognize the ever-present nature of the law. I recognize peace, beauty, joy, love, and light. I recognize wholeness. I recognize that health is present here and now, in this very moment, and in this very place. I recognize the receptivity of each one within the sound of my voice to lean in and learn the law governing the principle of healing. I further acknowledge their ability to accept the challenge of getting their hands dirty and their openness to treat and move their feet. I know that once a mental concept is embodied in mind, that definite action must and does follow. I recognize that each individual is now ready, willing, and able to take mental action in ways that may have previously seemed unsurmountable. Knowing that principle is never bound by precedent, I move forward with enthusiasm. This enthusiasm is contagious and spreads healing throughout this world with more power and faster than any physical problem, for it moves at the speed of light. It moves at the speed of love. It moves at the speed of God. Grateful for wholeness, I now recognize within each one listening, I release my word into the law, and so it is.
Thank you, John, for that beautiful prayer. I just let it sink in and breathe it in. Yes, we are all capable because the divine is capable. Now we will be hearing from our beloved Monique Beltran, who will be offering our musical selection today. So this is what will be happening. Monique Beltran will bring her musical offering. We will have the gap meditation with John Nubia, and Monique Beltran will come back. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Monique Beltran, and I am an improvisational musician, and I have the pleasure of playing some songs for you today. I'm sorry that I can't be there with you live and in person, and that we're unable to gather right now, but thank you for being present in this way. And thank you, Stephen Rambo, for allowing me to be a part, And I was inspired today by today's topic, getting your hands dirty. It reminded me to wash my hands, but also it reminded me of the importance of allowing things to be messy, for honoring that things are messy sometimes in this human experience, and how important that is to allowing us to be in the full expression of our humanity. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy. Sometimes I don't want you to have the answer when I come to you with my pain. All I want you to do is not say a damn thing, but just witness me. Just witness me. 'Cause I'm a complex human thing. I got many things going on inside of me. You just wanna pick one for your convenience. You erase all of my story on me still, even though you wanna end with a pencil and pen. Your words so sharply draw on top of every word I say, and I don't wanna be erased for your convenience. Keep on looking for my simplicity. I adore every word that you throw, trying to make me fit into your convenient story once more. And I don't want an answer when I look at you. When I'm in pain, all I need you to do is witness me. And witness me. 'Cause I'm a complex human being, and I know that it can be scary to dig deeper. And I know that it can be chilling to look deeper. But I find that when you try, I feel less alone. I feel less alone. I feel less alone. 'Cause there's a warmth that comes from your attempt of seeing me. Even if you make mistakes, I can forgive. 'Cause I know that you're wanting to be with me. Doesn't mean this is easy or painless, but I know that it's a little less if we do this together. All I want you to do when I come and sit next to you is for you to not have any answers, just to witness me. I'm a complex being, to just witness me. I'm a complex being, that's my humanity. I'm a complex being, that's my humanity. I'm a complex being, that's my humanity. That's my humanity.
So it's time once again for the gap. 3 minutes of silent meditation. And since today's topic is getting our hands dirty and taking action, I thought I'd give you 3 minutes of the action in my yard with all my little wind charms. So here we go. So many ways to meditate. I invite you to discover your own new ways to meditate. Open eyes, closed eyes, walking meditation, watching certain objects, focusing on one particular thing, candle flame. So many options. Namaste.
though you run away from my darkness. I feel as though you don't wanna just sit in it. And I want you to understand me completely. I know it's not always possible, but every time you leave me here, it feels as though you're saying I'm not worth anything, even though you're not saying the word at all. I wish you would speak to me. I wish you would speak to me. I wish you would speak to me. But you don't say a damn thing, but your eyes say everything. And how could it be that nothing's happening, and yet everything is just happening? And once all living in paradox, and I want to understand it, but you just keep on walking that way. No matter the things I say, I do not say, never good enough for you. And now we're playing just a game, but I don't know the rules, never signed up for them. Yet here I am, I'm recruited in the middle of it, and I wish there was some form of consent written paperwork for me to sign. At least I would know that what we're doing is somewhat alright, cause I don't even know if we can continue, cause I'm starting to get tired and my knees are buckling and my whole body's shaking. I don't even know why, but I got all this panic inside, and I wish you would talk to me. And I wish you would talk to me. And I wish you would talk to me. And I wish you would say something, but I keep on getting the silence. The silence fills the void, and my body fills the void. Oh, so deeply, I wish that I didn't, but I got all these roots informing me, and I just want them to be at peace, but I can't control them, cause it's not about controlling. Maybe it's just about accepting, giving myself a little bit of love when I remember from above. Oh, my intellect is not better than yours, but sometimes I just want to remember what it feels like to feel as though I am impenetrable. So I keep on thinking that maybe if I go to a high plane, whatever that fucking means to me, I will say the right thing. I just gotta look at this logically from above. But I remember that the temptation to escape is what's leading me to be in that place instead of me being equal to you, which I am in the moment. Even though I don't want to touch that, cause it hurts too much, and oh, I wish you would own it too, and maybe we could speak and give clues. But yeah, oh no, we don't want to be too clear, cause it's too new and it's too vulnerable. I know it's too vulnerable, but I wish you would talk to me. I wish you would talk to me. I wish you would talk to me. I wish you would talk to me.
Thank you, Monique. Beautiful, beautiful music. And thank you, John, for another creative meditation. We are so fortunate with the people in our center and all the talent that exists. Today's topic is Get Your Hands Dirty. So we will be exploring this topic, meaning we have to take action, treat and move your feet in order to express our innate divinity fully. Now, as I said earlier, in the light of the events that have happened in the past week, I will be speaking on race and racism. So if you sign on later, it's a little heads up. And it might become uncomfortable. And I stand here with you in the uncomfortableness because it is uncomfortable. And so we breathe through it together. Also in this, we are a community. We are a community to work through this together and to come to a better place, to let our light shine more. And if you don't feel uncomfortable, I suggest you keep breathing too. See if there is more, because we all have something to learn. Okay, so get your hands dirty. When I was thinking about that topic, get your hands dirty, I thought, if I fully want to express my true nature, I have to understand what my true nature is, and I have to understand how it all works together. My lifelong mission, I can say, is to understand life. So I went to the Declaration of Principle by the Science of Mind, and it says, Dr. Ernest Holmes says, we believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. So let's look at this. What does this mean? The highest God and the innermost God is one God. What this means that there's truly only one divine consciousness. There is only one divine energy that is expressing as all that there is. I think I speak about this every time I have a chance to talk because it is such an awesome principle. It fills me with awe to think that there is only one divine consciousness that is expressing as all that there is, as the galaxies, as a blade of grass, as you, as I. And that divine consciousness is fully present in every point in space and time. So it's fully present in each and every one of us. It's the light in our heart. It's that bright flame in our hearts. Okay? But the statement also says we believe in the unity of all life. The unity. So when we look at the word unity from the Cambridge English Dictionary, it says unity is the state of being joined together or in agreement. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary says unity is oneness. To say something more about that in a minute, but it's a condition of harmony. Unity is symphony. Unity means it's like we're all together. There's only one divine consciousness. There's only one divine energy. There are no gaps. There is no gap of divine consciousness between you and I. We are connected. So even though the divine consciousness is present in all its fullness in each and every one of us, it's also present in all its fullness just an inch away from my body and everything in between, in every space and time. It functions as a whole. And when one part, that there's actually no such thing as one part being affected and the rest not. One part being affected means everything is affected. There's a unity. We believe in the unity of all life, in the harmony of our life. We believe that all life is in a state of being joined together. We believe in the symphony of all life. Now, to bring that home a little more is, I want to tell you a story. It's like a number of years ago, I had a little bump on my toe, just on one of my toes. It had been growing over time, but it was tiny. It was just so little. And at first I didn't know what it was, and then I found out it was just a little pearl of cartilage sitting right on my joint. And in and of itself, it was just a little thing on my toe, But the interesting thing is that my whole body was affected. It became so painful that at night, I actually couldn't sleep with a sheet on my foot because it would hurt too much. I would hang my foot off the edge of the bed, because that's how I could sleep. But as Reverend Stephen started to notice, it's like I was holding my body really tight because I was always afraid that it would get hurt, which it did, all throughout the day. So then I had surgery, the little pearl was removed, wasn't a big deal. And my whole system just relaxed. It just let go. It's the same with life. There is one life. If there is something that is out of alignment with the goodness of life, the whole hurts. By the way, I must just say, our cat is at the door. We're in my office, and he very badly wants to come in. His meow is very loud, so you might hear it. But he's quite safe and quite okay. He's just at the door wanting to join us, so he can join us in spirit. So when something happens it affects the whole. When George Floyd is killed in Minnesota, it affects all of us. We can't step back and say like, oh, that has nothing to do with me. We cannot do that because it's not the truth. You know, we believe in the unity of all life, the unity of all life. How we can work with that to bring that home is we can do a beautiful practice that Darlene Bellis actually spoke about just a few Wednesdays ago. She was saying, it's like she has a practice that when she meets somebody or she thinks of somebody, she affirms, I'm whole, perfect, and complete. You know, the divine is expressing as me. And the other person is whole, perfect, and complete. Now, as is the case with every practice, we won't know truly, we can't really imbibe the effects of it until we do it. But I started doing it, and what I started noticing is that by seeing myself as whole, perfect, and complete, I truly started to feel whole. And how I was relating to other people changed. And what I was expecting, not in a negative sense, but what I saw people capable of changed. I saw them as whole, perfect, and complete. And then what started to happen too is that I felt equal with other people. I wasn't better, I wasn't worse. They weren't better, they weren't worse. We were just both beautiful emanations of the divine. It's a beautiful practice to do. And thank you, Darlene, for that. So get your hands dirty. How does this relate to the unity of all life and the highest God being the innermost God? It's like, because if God is expressing as us, when God takes action, guess who's taking action? The manifestation of God. We are the ones who take action. But it's important to do that in alignment with our truth, in alignment with our true nature, because if we don't, things go askew. And the interesting thing is, once we're not in alignment, we start to make excuses for why we don't do certain things. You know, the Arbinger Institute published a book, it's called The Anatomy of Peace. And in the book it says, when something is crooked and we need to make it straight, we call it justifying. When something is crooked and we need to make it straight, we call it justifying. The Arbinger Institute, explains this with the following story. They said, for example, there's a new father, he and his wife just had a baby, and they're sleeping at night, and he wakes up and he's awake, and he hears the baby stirring. And he thinks, hey, I'm awake already, so why don't I go take care of the baby, and then my wife can sleep. But then he stays in bed just a minute longer and actually finds himself being quite cozy in bed. And so he doesn't act on that pure impulse. And then he starts to justify. He starts to make excuses. Why would I get up? By the way, why would I? Look at her. She's just sleeping. She doesn't even hear her own child. I have to go to work tomorrow, and she doesn't. She's home. I cannot take a nap at work. She can. She can take a nap. Why isn't she waking up? Wow, she is one bad mother. And I am not going to get up to take care of that baby. She will just have to wake up at some point. And on it goes. And in the meantime, his wife is just sleeping. She doesn't know any of this. But the new father has built this whole case, has justified him wanting to stay in bed and ignoring the impulse that he could do something good and just get out of bed and take care of the baby, right? By the way, we all do this. There are no exceptions. We have an impulse and we don't follow through. And then we start justifying why we're not following through. And the scary thing is that sometimes this justification is passed on from generation to generation. And it's built upon each other. So it's like, when it just comes up, we can catch ourselves if we're willing to do it, or we might have a conflict and we look back and go like, I really didn't listen to that first impulse I had. So let me change it. Let me apologize. Let me do it different. But when certain beliefs or certain justifications are so ingrained in the culture, we might not even be aware of it. When I was in practitioner studies, we had a class on diversity training. It's kind of funny if I think about it right now, but we had a class on diversity training. And in my team, in my group, there was also a woman, Christine, from Germany. And we came together, as the class started, and we were talking about, what we discovered about our beliefs around racism and how we grew up, etc. And the interesting thing was I actually had to call my brother because I couldn't figure out how racism played in our households. And my brother really shed some light on it. He said, because he had been thinking about that, and he realized it's not that, negative things were said in the household. It was just that it was ignored. It wasn't even acknowledged. But one thing that I noticed is that as a culture, between the Netherlands and Belgium, there's some rivalry going on, right? So we have jokes back and forth about each other. So for example, Belgium always comes with jokes about the Dutch people being stingy. So one of the jokes is, how was copper wire invented? And it's 2 Dutch people pulling on a penny or fighting over a penny. Okay, that's us. Okay, but then the Dutch people always have the idea or have jokes about that Belgians are dumb. And so when I came to my practitioner class, and I was talking with Christine, and I was sharing that with her, that I realized that. And, she said, oh, we have that too in Germany. And it didn't take a second for us to just start to crack up laughing. And then I caught myself. And I thought, wow, first of all, I'm already convinced it's like good comedy or good humor doesn't have to put other people down. Not at all. That is not really humor. That is putting other people down. But it was so ingrained in me all the years that I grew up and heard these jokes and told these jokes that my immediate reaction was laughter. How much I had bought into that belief. And that is just one example. It's like coming to the United States, it's like coming in as a foreigner because I immigrated here. Sometimes it might be a little bit easier for me to see which beliefs are so ingrained in this culture, but not always. Because believe me, in the Netherlands, we have to deal with a lot of race issues and racism. By the way, did you know that race and racist ideas were invented to justify behavior? In 1453, Prince Henry from Portugal started the slave trade. And he wanted the profits, but he wasn't interested in looking back. So he actually commissioned somebody to write a book. And it's the first book in recorded history with anti-black racist ideas, just to justify his behavior. Just to justify the slave trade. The book is called The Chronicle of the Discovery and Conquest of Guinea. To break cultural habits and beliefs, we have to do the work. We have to get our hands dirty. And when I talked a minute ago about unity and oneness, I I said I would make another comment about it, and this is what I want to say. Oneness is not sameness. Oneness is seeing the worth of every single person, seeing the divinity of every single person. Sameness is assuming that we all have the same opportunities. And that is just not true. Okay? So we have to look which habits, beliefs, ideas are embedded in our culture, what we have bought into. But in order to do that, like I said earlier, we feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable, when I do my work, when I see that the ideas I had weren't right and that I really have to shift in order to honor my own creed, to honor the highest in all, But in order to do that, we have to grow spiritually. And to grow spiritually, we have to have a certain attitude. In Living in Attention, Shelley Tulloch says, spiritual growth requires humility and openness. And being willing to learn from others allows for reflection on how to best serve and lead. Spiritual growth requires humility and openness, and being willing to learn from others allows for reflection on how to best serve and lead. Spiritual growth requires a certain attitude. Now, what is humility? Humility is not putting ourselves down. Humility is not about, oh, we're so bad and wrong. That's not what it is. In a spiritual sense, humility is a virtue that displays low self-preoccupation. Low self-preoccupation. What does that mean? That it is not just all about me. Now, my world is not just all about me, which is already not in alignment with the spiritual principles of science of mind. We believe in the unity of all life, in the symphony of all life, in the working together of all life. So it cannot be all about me. It wasn't all about my little toe. It was about the whole body. So when we have low self-preoccupation, of course we need to take care of ourselves. We're just celebrating that Reverend Stephen takes a day off. Self-care is very important. But we do self-care so we can serve the greater good. The divine is expressing as us, but the divine is truly also expressing as the rest of the world. And as all the other cultures, we might not understand. We need to have an openness to learn. That's another spiritual quality. We need each other to find our blind spots. We all have blind spots. And they're called blind spots because we can't see them. So to say is like, I'm going to look for my blind spots, forget it. Is not going to work. But when we work together, when we work as a team, then we can see our blind spots reflected. When we reflect and contemplate the events and what it does for us, and then we start digging a little deeper, then we can find out what we need to change. It's very interesting, it's like one of my favorite books to start with, I must say, to learn about racist ideas and racism is the book called White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. And I really had to breathe through it, because towards the end of the book, she talks about all the excuses we have to not deal with our issues. And I used some of those that were on the list. My favorite one was, I'm in a biracial relationship. As if that means that I understand everything of the other culture. If that means that I understand fully what Reverend Stephen might be going through. It does not. My other excuse was I have a biracial son. Yes, he's turning 28 next week. Still, I don't know his experience. I don't understand his experience. I am not biracial in this world. So reading that book, it's like I had to be open to learn. Another one she mentioned is I marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. That doesn't mean that you don't have racist ideas. And breathe, because that might be a really hard one to take. Because we want to be good people, and we are good people. But we are good people with some beliefs and ideas that doesn't support the greater good. And it's our job to work on it. It's our job to get our hands dirty. And yes, we need to have a good sense of ourselves. We need to go back to that first principle. You know, the innermost God, the highest God, and the innermost God are the same God, are the one God. We are divine expressions. And when we stand firm on that, and we have humility and openness, then we can shift. And then we can start to heal. We can start to heal our false beliefs. Dr. Ernest Holmes says in The Science of Mind, which John Newbill read earlier, in healing, you are separating the false from the true. In healing, you are separating the false from the true. The work is definite and dynamic and is consciously done, always with a clear purpose in mind. So in healing, we are separating the false from the true. What I said earlier, we have to educate ourselves. There are so many resources available. If you need resources, feel free to contact myself or Reverend Stephen. We can give you a whole list of books. We can give you movies just to get started. But you have to do the work. Don't just read about it. Imbibe it. Work with it. It's a lifelong process. There's no graduation ceremony. Sorry to say, it won't happen. It's a lifelong process. But as you educate yourself, I also ask you to check your resources, because there's also a lot of misinformation out there. Don't just stick with one book. You know, I read White Fragility, and then I read Dr. Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And sometimes the definitions of racist and racism changes depending on the angle the author is taking. And it's very important to understand that and to know that. And it's not about one is right and the other one is wrong. It's just different perspectives to give us a well-rounded experience of it. Again, be willing to get your hands dirty. Be willing to make mistakes. You know, we learn from those who have gone before us. Be willing to learn. Be willing to be open. And then Dr. Ernest Holmes says, you know, it's definite and dynamic. It's constantly changing. We're moving with it. There is not one answer to this. But we have to flow with it. We have to keep going. And it's consciously done, always with a clear purpose in mind. So we set our intention. But again, it's important when we set our intention and we start to take action that we see what the impact of the action is. Because I can have the best intention, but if I don't understand the picture, I might do something that is not supportive at all. You know, so I must be willing to take the feedback I'm getting and seeing my impact of my words or my actions, and then be willing to adjust. Okay? So we remember who we are. There's the unity of all life, and each one of us being an expression of the divine. And then we are open to learn. And then we take action. But in order to do all of that, we have to believe first. Dr. Ibram Kendi, in his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, says, but before we can treat, we must believe. Believe all is not lost for you and me and our society. Believe in possibility that we can strive to be anti-racist from this day forward. Dr. Kendi in his book speaks about being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and that the prognosis for healing was quite slim. But there was a treatment plan. And he said what he realized is that he had to believe that the treatment plan would work. Because if he didn't believe in the treatment plan, he wouldn't heal. So he had to believe that going to chemotherapy would work. He had to believe that starting to eat healthy or taking certain herbs would help him heal. He had to believe, and so do we. If we want a life of harmony, if we truly want to live the science of mind principles, we have to believe that the work we're doing makes a difference. In the face of adversity, we need to believe that we can make a difference. You might remember the starfish story, right? There's a man walking along the beach, and on that particular beach, the tide has washed up a lot of starfish on the shore, and he's walking along the beach, and while he's walking, he's picking up a starfish and throws it back in the ocean, because starfish really don't like to sunbathe. Doesn't really do them any good, and they can't quite crawl back into the ocean, so they kind of were stuck there. And so he picks up the starfish and throws it back in the ocean. And then a friend meets him there, and he asks him, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I want to give the starfish life, so I throw them back in the ocean." And the friend looks at the beach and goes like, "There's so many starfish here. You know, you'll never be able to get all of this done, so it doesn't really matter." And the man picks up another starfish and throws it back in the ocean. And he says, "It matters to this one." And now imagine if you and I join this man on the beach and also start throwing starfish back into the ocean. And then more people, because we're letting our light shine, and people are curious about what we're doing, and they're joining us, and also they are starting to throw starfish in the ocean. And soon the beach will be clean. So believe that we can be uplifted as humanity, and get your hands dirty. So let's do the affirmation. I know I am here to get my hands dirty, and that is a God thing. We're going into our healing prayer, and what I just heard is that our beloved Joyce has lost her brother-in-law, her sister Rose's husband. So let's hold Joyce and Rose and their family in prayer. Let's wish her brother-in-law a good journey, a blessed journey. Let's take a deep breath. And so as we are affirming once again and knowing that there is only one life, only one divine consciousness that is whole, perfect, and complete, that is well-being, that is lavish abundance and peace and harmony. And that life is expressing as all that there is. So that it is present right here in me, and present right in all its fullness, right in the person who is listening, and the people who are not listening, is truly everywhere present. And so therefore I know that the wholeness and the peace and the well-being and the lavish abundance is present in all its fullness for each and every one. And so in that light, I declare and accept that I believe that the world shifts through getting our hands dirty. That if every action we take to be in alignment with the divine light within each and every one of us makes a difference and lights up the world just a little bit more till it shines so brightly, and there's equality and equity. And in that, I also know that each person individually is held in their own personal experience. The lavish abundance is there. The peace of mind is there. That Rose and Joyce and their family, that their hearts are held, even in the grief, that the love is present. And for this, I'm just so grateful, and I let it be, and so it is. Let's take another deep breath. And now, we have a surprise guest artist. Arlene Cole was so kind to record a beautiful song for us. Let's listen to Arlene Cole.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all healthy, happy, and surviving through these very, very challenging times. And thought I'd give you a little brightening up with some Tom Petty. Because don't let it get you down, eh? Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground. No, I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I'll stand my ground, and I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. I got just one life in a world that keeps on pushing me around. Gonna stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I'll stand my ground, and I won't back down. Yeah, I'll stand my ground, and I won't back down.
Thank you, Arlene Cole. No, I won't back down. And I know as a community, Center for Spiritual Living, Simi Valley, we won't back down. We might get tired sometimes. We take a breath, we take a break, and then we go again and we get our hands dirty again. So now is an opportunity to participate in a different way, in our community through the law of circulation. For me, the law of circulation, it says, as we give, we receive. For me, it's like when I give, when I tithe, I pledge my connection to the greater community. It reinforces that I'm not standing here just by myself, but that I am within the greater community. So there are a number of ways to give. After service, you can call Dr. Susan at the office. She can take your information. You can go to the website, cslcimi.org/donating, or you can text GIVE, GIVE, to 805-500-5677. Okay, so, Reverend Stephen is trying to tell me something because he's sitting here. So can you just pick it up? It's 805-600, 805-600-5677. Thank you for that, Reverend Stephen. Yeah, I know he has a day off, but he's still sitting here. So now let's say our pledge together. Divine love is doing its perfect work here and now. Divine love harmonizes, divine love adjusts, divine love prospers. Divine love foresees everything and richly provides every good thing for CSL Simi Valley now. Divine love is victorious.
So as I sit here in my garden at this time ready to bless the offering, I'm thinking of all the things that I am so grateful for. All the things that might never have happened had this crisis not occurred. Would we be experiencing Oneness at One all week? Would we be experiencing practitioners doing their art and their gap from their garden, or from the top of a mountain, or from their home office? So many things to be grateful for. And I am grateful for the continued contributions that are being made as we speak through the online donations, through checks, through calls to the office after the service. So many ways to be grateful. Grateful for it all, knowing that it all serves to further our connection with the community at large. Grateful for it all. Release my word into the law, and so it is.
Thank you, John Nobel. I'm even grateful for the leaf blower on the background. That is a growing point for me, but I'm breathing. I stand firm. I can be grateful for a leaf blower. So as we're growing spiritually, it's really important that we do it as a community, that we reach out when we need support. And just know that the practitioners are available, the practitioners of CSL Simi Valley. You can reach out to us. Our contact information is on the website. You also can come to the Zoom after this service. Practitioners will be available. It is set up that you actually can meet privately. We can create rooms where you can get prayer. So when you're on the Zoom, you can just put in the chat box that you need prayer, and we'll make sure you're put together with a practitioner and receive prayer. And you can go to the website, and that is cslcme.org/prayer-requests. Okay, cslcme.org/prayer-requests. And you can put your prayer request in there, and our beloved Dee always forwards it to all the practitioners, and we will pray for you. Okay, now, Reverend Stephen, yes, he has a day off, but he does have an important announcement for you, so he recorded this announcement. Reverend Stephen.
Thank you, Reverend Johanna, and good morning, CSL Simi Valley. What a great service. So happy to have Reverend Johanna stepping in, giving me a day off. I appreciate it. We've been here doing the Verge since March, April, now May, going into June, and that's why I'm here this morning. We've been seeing around the state how various businesses are opening up, and now the guidelines are out for houses of worship. I want to address that this morning. We have people coming to our center we're a bi-county center. We're actually a tri-county center. We have people driving in from Santa Barbara to come to church. And as we've looked at the guidelines that are laid out for the way houses of worship have to open, by we, I mean your board of trustees, and have discussed these guidelines in detail, what we've decided is that the Center of Loving Hearts and Open Minds is not ready to open under those guidelines. And here's why. Let me explain how they work. 25% of capacity is what's allowed into the building. When we factor in musicians, service teams, the staff, the ministers, and the practitioners, that comes down to about 25 or 30 of the congregation. That's a pretty small community when we know that we have way more than that wants to come and be together in community. And then once those few people that are allowed in can come into the sanctuary, not to mention the parking, you have to have every other parking space. But I digress. What I want to talk about is the seriousness of creating a comfortable community, much like we had before we left. It will be different, that's for sure. But does it have to be different where there's no community singing, which is under the guidelines, where the musicians have to be behind plexiglass, another suggestion of the guidelines, where we still have to have social distancing within the sanctuary, only families sitting together, and then chairs 6 feet apart, disinfecting, going in and out, everybody PPEs, perhaps having to do temperature checks of staff. There's a lot of stuff going on that doesn't create the sacred spiritual environment that we feel is powerful for a worship celebration service like we present. And on top of that, we've been able to bring you the Verge, our virtual service, high-powered, intimate, good communication, strong connection with the community, people, membership giving the announcements each week, great soloists coming in, recording beautiful music for us each week, practitioners doing their absolute wonderful creative work to bring you the gap, the affirmation, the opening treatment, and the reading each week. We really feel that we are bringing you something that you can take with you throughout the week for spiritual upliftment and enhancement of your life. And that's what Center for Spiritual Living is all about. We're about making our lives better. Coming together under these guidelines doesn't seem to go in alignment with that idea. So we're going to watch carefully. We're going to keep our eyes on what the state and the county health officials are telling us are best practices to do. And when we can find a way to bring our community together with that feeling that you're missing so much, then we're going to do it. We'll keep posted. We'll keep you up to date with what we're going to do. But for now, expect us to be on the Verge at least through the end of June, perhaps into the first part of July. We'll update you as the month goes ahead. But for now, you'll look for me, or I'll look for you, or we'll be together next week on the Verge right here at 10:30 in the morning. So I'll see you then. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Reverend Johanna.
Thank you, Reverend Stephen, and thank you to the board members of Center for Spiritual Living Simi Valley to make a decision that supports our health, that supports our well-being, and a decision that supports our community being close. Because, Reverend Stephen, as you were explaining, there were so many guidelines that would create more separation within the sanctuary than closeness. So coming together on the Verge is truly a treat. And thank you for your creation. And thank you for all who participate in that. And I also want to thank the community members who are reaching out to other community members who might not be available to join on Facebook or on YouTube later on. Okay, so we're keeping everybody connected. Thank you for that. So thank you for all the participants in this service. Linda Legman, your announcements were delightful. Thank you. And of course, Reverend Rob, thank you for recording. Teamwork, yes. Tracy Andreas and Maverick. Oh, I love your video. Thank you. Yes. And everybody, please come to the community salon, sharing our hearts through the arts this Wednesday at 7. As I said earlier, reach out to Reverend Stephen if you want to do announcements. John Newbill, thank you for being Practitioner of the Day, and thank you for all your work in the center. We give thanks to our musicians. Monique Beltran, did you know she is an I was just trying this out in my head. So here we go. Improvisational lyricist and musician. She's amazing. She just on the spot, she tunes in. Talk about being tuned in to the divine light within. She tunes in and then she plays and then she sings. It's so fantastic. Thank you, Arlene Cole. And of course, our music director, Sherry Deeds. Thank you, Dr. Susan, for playing Learn. Whoops. And thanks to all who have submitted the cameos for the end of the service. So stick around at the end of the service. Look at the cameos. Now remember, know the divinity within you. All of us are one life. We're not the same, but we're all equally worthy. Be aware when you justify. Develop humility, openness, and willingness to learn. Educate yourself and check your resources. See the impact your actions have and adjust when necessary. And believe that what you do makes a difference. Now let's do the benediction together. I'm at home in the heart of God. My life is anchored in truth. I can never be separate. I live in the consciousness of peace. I release all fear. I am living love.
I release, I let go, I let the spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the spirit.
remember, please join us for Après Verge, after the service, after the virtual service on Zoom. The Zoom ID is 844-8364-7518. The password is 805-527-0870. It was posted in the chat. See you there.
I was extremely pleased to hear the voice of Reverend Stephen acknowledging my stay-at-home situation. All of you folks who have the ability to connect with one another much better than I don't have any more love in your hearts than I have in mine for all of you. I missed you terribly and look forward to seeing you in the very near future.
Believe me, I just want to live a better life, and for us to get along. I don't know what has changed, but there's a feeling in my gut that there's something wrong. I love you.
That's good. Wave's good. Waving's good. Act like you're doing audio.
That's all he ever does now.
More to the picture than meets the eye. Hey, hey, my mind.
We're on. Hello, CSL. Hi, everyone, from John's backyard. And thank goodness for his technology. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Namaste.
Is the old sea just down below me? Is the old sea? The further I go, my letters from home never arrive, and I'm alone.
Faith, come on, y'all.
Faith is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before.
Peace.
Peace is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before.
Patience.
Patience calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Understanding's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Forgiveness is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before.
America.
Oh, yeah.
America's calling me